This episode is brought to you by Generate Solutions, your go-to AI experts specializing in empowering commercial real estate companies and environmental consulting firms. As AI is quickly transforming industries and enhancing efficiency, it is important you don't let your business fall behind. At Generate Solutions, we streamline workflows and automate tasks by creating custom AI agents tailored specifically to your business needs. Interested in taking your operations to the next level with AI? Email mfiorante@generatesolutions.com or find us directly on LinkedIn by clicking the link in the bio. On to our episode.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of A Conversation with John Conenna. And today it brings me great pleasure because I didn't get the chance to do this too many times, but I've done a lot of journalists in the city, and we have an up and coming journalist that reminds me of me back in 1982, 83, when I was at Loyola University and studying broadcast journalism. Today, we are going to bring in a gentleman named Nick Fardella. He is a senior at Michigan State University studying journalism with a minor in sports journalism and will be graduating this year. But Nick touched a chord in me through his family, and I wanted to reach out to him because his new and maybe fresh ideas toward how we view journalism in sports in the year 2026 and beyond will be interesting for me to find out. Nicholas, good afternoon, and I truly thank you for coming on. And what is going on with you, young man?
First off, I appreciate you for having me on this on the conversation. I'm really excited to talk to you this afternoon.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, anytime I hear that word sports, and of course I've been dealing with mom and dad for many years. Your family is just an impeccable family, an Italian family that is, true to the heart. When I, talk to Augustino and Rosa, I have to ask you, do you have a passion for sports? Right, like from the get-go of grammar school, because I'm going to stop you right. I'm going to stop myself right here. I didn't, but it was something that triggered me in Chicago that made me love sports. What was it for you?
So growing up, yeah, I mean, my parents put me through like all the sports as a kid, soccer, basketball, baseball, and all that. And like growing up, like I really loved like playing sports, being outside. It was just like a chance to like connect with your friends. And like when I was in high school, like when I was trying to figure out what I want to do with my life, I always thought I was going to be something in business. But I took a business class, and I'm like, this just like doesn't really fit with me. It's kind of boring in my opinion. But like I always like follow like sports media and all that. So then I said like I love sports, I love talking about it. Like I can make this a career for myself. So then I took like our high school had like a newspaper, so I did that as a club, and I really like enjoyed like covering sports and getting to know like the athletes personally, other than just like athletes or like human beings too. And I think it's great that like I can like tell the stories of athletes that like I used to read as a kid.
Yeah, exactly. Fantastic. And of course, I mean, you're going to a university that's, again, top in the country, Michigan State University. Fantastic. So have you had this kind of love and that fire burning in you since what do you think? Fifth, sixth grade?
Yeah, around there.
Yeah. And it just, what do you think triggered you, or was there like an early mentor? Was it your mom? Was it your dad? Or was it somebody you saw on a television screen or heard a voice over a radio, which it was for me? What was it for you that, starts the trigger?
Well, when I was in like middle school, like my parents, they both had jobs, so like they took us to like before school care, and my dad would always drive us to school, and like he would always play like ESPN 1000 radio, so I would like listen to them constantly in the morning, and like after school, my dad would pick me up too, and I would listen to them too, and just like I really love like the podcast industry too, and just them like talking about sports. In my opinion, that's what I want to do. And I just like I rather listen to like sports podcasts in the car now than music sometimes. It's just like always a chance to learn about like, any sport possible.
Yeah. Even now, we'll jump a little bit forward ahead. What's one podcast of a sports podcast that you're like, I can't wait for that to come on tomorrow. Like for me, growing up, it was always like I couldn't wait for the score to come on because I played softball with him. It was with the legendary Mike North here in Chicago. Um, what was it for you? Like, is there a podcast now? As I'm going a little further ahead, is there a podcast now that you really like to listen to maybe two, three times a week?
Yeah, so part of my take. It's a Barstool podcast that's like airs Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I listen to them every Monday, Wednesday, Friday when it comes on. I just like that podcast too because it's like more of like it's more like a conversation within like the host and like they like joke around with each other. Is they take it seriously, but then not too seriously at the same time. And like their interviews that they do, they ask like really unique questions. And it's just like a different angle that like I learn about sports from them too, from like their interview questions.
Right. And I'm going to use this word when it comes to Barstool Sports, and there's a one that I listen to because I was I've been a big hockey guy in my life here in Illinois. Spitting Chicklets
Yeah, I've
is it?
heard of
No,
that.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just hey, Nick, and maybe now you could tell me, being this young and up and coming journalist, I find it like to be bold. Like they're bold. They're gonna tell it like it is. Is this a style that you see that could change, or this is what people want to hear? The guy wants to hear, that young lady wants to hear, the athlete. What do you get from Barstool and now Spitting Chicklets, something like that?
Yeah, I think bold's a great word. It's like because ESPN, they're contracted to say the right thing at all times, like politically and all that. And Barstool says what they say it how they feel like it. They're gonna say how it is. And I feel like as a listener, I want to know how it is. I rather listen to that than like something that's just like boring and all like the stats and all that.
Right, right. It's something that's sugar coated and everything else. I got to tell you, I interviewed a great player here in Chicago who played for the Chicago Blackhawks, just got into the Hockey Hall of Fame, Jeremy Roenick. And I go to listen to him on Spitting Chicklets before my interview. And yeah. And then I go to interview him, and I was cautious in my style. And I thought, wow, I should have just, when you go back to look at it, I should have been just more forward because I think Roenick then he would have been more forward. It's like almost when you're playing the sport, you kind of feeling each other out, but maybe that one question or that one thing will open it up. So, yeah, I find this podcasting, journalism, what you guys are doing now, you are 100% correct in saying that people want to hear it. They don't want it sugar coated. Um, where did you go to high school?
Prospect High School.
Prospect. And was there anything there too that kept you going toward this journalism thing? Did you do anything at that school in the way of some kind of announcing? Did you cover the team maybe in the local paper in the high school? Was there anything there that kept you going besides playing the sports?
Yeah, so we had like the student newspaper called Night Media. So I was a part of that and like we had like issues that would run like every month for school year. So like I would get assigned like different like sports stories to cover. Like I would cover like random like athletes in different sports that were going to college. So this one girl for women's basketball, she went to Denver University to play basketball. So I would like write like an article on her, like a feature story on her and just like random athletes like that.
Right. Okay, which is really cool. So there has been, since you went to Prospect, there has been this progression.
Yeah, yeah.
You're going toward it. So when you became the freshman at Michigan State, you now know, okay, I'm not going to be doing the business thing. I want to get into this type of thing. Um, I'm going to ask you a question because mine was back in 1978 to 1982. Um, I wasn't much of a writer, but I love that gift to gab where I wanted to talk to the guy after the game. That what do you think is the forte, the strength of a Nick Fardella as we move forward now? Because now after this senior year, you're gonna be you got the feelers out, correct?
Yeah. I want to be a writer. So right now, I work for a radio station or I intern for a radio station in Detroit called WJR. So I'm like a digital media intern for them, and I cover Michigan State football and basketball. So I like write pre and post game articles on them, give recaps, give a preview on them, and like go to like every single press conferences of the coaches and just give like updates within like the recruiting and stuff like that.
Nick, and when you're doing these kind of things, and I know at this college level, I thought I saw something, or I could be wrong. You've been reporting major events like even the Lions training camp.
Yeah, over the
So
summer, I did the Lions training camp and like Live Golf and Rocket Classic 2 in Detroit.
if we could stick on the Lions training camp for just this 1 second. So did you do the Lions training camp before the start of the 25 season?
No, this is my first year doing the Lions training camp.
Okay, okay. Because like I said, and of course, when you do that, you'll have interviews probably with Coach Campbell, his assistants, Dan Campbell, and all that.
Yeah.
No, I thought maybe you had covered them because I would have liked to have known. Thanks for they beat the Bears twice this year of our 6 losses here in Chicago. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's got to be a thrill in itself because how does that make you feel? I feel that's the compliment of compliments because now you go from the college level of covering the football and basketball, and then I see this, the training camp. You're at a professional level. You're dealing with a guy, a professional player. You're talking to a Matt Goff maybe in that camp, correct?
Yeah. I talked to Jared Goff,
Jared, I'm sorry.
some of their defensive players like Aiden Hutchinson and Kirby Joseph and all them. I mean, it was kind of surreal just like being there because like I love football. It was crazy just watching their training camps because a lot of the times like it was just media there before the fans. So it was just all the media members watching football and it was kind of like surreal just taking it all in. And like before the year, I was like I obviously have heard of players love Dan Campbell and like getting to like and know why they're good. Like Dan Campbell is like one of the guys that like I would run through a wall for. He's like authentic to who he is. He's just Dan Campbell. He wants to play football. He wants the Lions to play hard. And it was cool to see live at the training camp that they're doing that. They're practicing all that stuff now before the season starts.
Incredible, yeah. I always said about, and I don't want to make this about Coach Dan Campbell, but even when Johnson was under Campbell here, the Chicago Bears coach, Ben Johnson, yeah, you want to play for a Campbell because, like, when I had to watch the year under Coach Eberflus here in Chicago, and then you see Campbell, you're like, why can't we have Campbell? You know what? Instead of Mr. Eberflus at that time, which made our Sundays, when you're eating your mom's pasta at 4:30, that pasta was not going down right like it was this year. No, but what a thing for you. May I ask you, as the outsider looking in, and basically this older, we're from now on, Nick, we are gonna dress ourselves, me and you, as journalists.
Okay.
Journalists. I've been called, even though I do travel, I've been called like a Chicago historian because of my love for sports. So, as you, the upcoming journalist, and as me, the old journalist, what kind of preparation, if we can stick on that Lions thing, goes in when the night before you got to be in that camp? I mean, you got to be prepared, correct?
Yeah, so like I want to know like I obviously want to know like who's playing and like who's sitting out, like injury report and all that, and like I want to know like the rosters too, like who's starting, who's backing up, and like what situations are they gonna run. like man and zone, who's gonna play like the nickel back and all that stuff. So I want to know like like all the positional wise too, so I can when they see it happen, I know which player's which in that certain scenario.
Yeah, fantastic. May I ask, even with the football team and with the basketball team at Michigan State, how open are they with their answers, or do you find the coaches and the players, just because how things are in life now with everything else, do you find them to be guarded, or do you find them to be, well, yeah, we're going to tell Fardella our story. We're going to tell him what's going on here.
Yeah, so our for football, we had an old coach this we fired our coach after the season, so our like old coach, he was like the most bland interview ever. Like people ask him, "What would you thought in this scenario after the game?" And he was like, "Yeah, I just have to watch the film and take and look at it back to give you a right answer." So he was very boring and bland. But Tom Izzo is he really gives a good answer. He goes in deep with all the questions. He's a very animated guy, and he takes that to the media too, which makes it fun, like interviewing like the animated guys too, because like they're gonna give you the answer too that you want.
Right. Because, here I'll pretend that this is my, notes if I'm being outdated. And then you get a guy that says, yeah, well, we could have done this, we could have done that. I used to hate when some ex-Chicago Bear coaches before, well, from Eberflus back, when they would say, well, yeah, you know why the one running back ran 400 yards on you? Yeah, somebody has to be accountable. Well, who's going to be accountable? Can you tell us how we got to this point that we got run over, 400 yards from the running back? Question. Do you go into this with a plan in the sense of, okay, I'm going to ask this. I want to know about this. I mean, I'm going to keep harping on this word as the journalist. And of course, you being the writing journalist, do you go, I mean, you really, again, with this preparation, that's the word here, preparation. Are you in there the night before, like writing your notes?
Yes, I am. I want to know who's playing and I want to know the matchups too. I try to like guess the matchups of who's going to guard who before the game and see if I'm right and wrong and all that. And during the games, I like keep track of like the substitution rotations with basketball just so like in case like someone's not playing a lot of minutes, like I can ask Izzo like, hey, like why was X player not playing in this certain scenario, like and all that. I during the games I like to keep track of the rotations just so like I have an idea of who's playing where and I go back to within the games and see if like the rotations are like somewhat similar or not.
Sure. in in regards to the scripts, in regards to the videos, in regards to working behind the camera at live sporting events. I mean, this takes time, correct? This is not something where, you're getting out of your car, going from the parking lot, you go, okay, I got this. Yeah, don't worry about it. What is the time element as the journalist, as this up and coming journalist that you are? What is the time? What do you think you put in time for preparation for these things? Name one of the topics that I mentioned. And again, I'll go back to it, the scripts, the videos, and, the behind the camera work stuff.
For like the scripts and stuff, I like did a class and like we did like a live TV like show and all that, and like we the scripts were like based on the games. So like before the class, I would like kind of like rewatch the game and see what happened, just so like I have an idea of what I'm gonna make the script of. Because like to your point, like as a journalist, like you cannot just get out of your car and go straight to work. Like you have like I don't think many people realize as like a journalist, like you have homework too. Like you have to know what's happening at all times. Because if like something happens that not expected, you're like supposed to like be able to tell a story of what's happening in that scenario too.
Because you could be, even like something like this, what me and you are doing here today, this interview, you could be telling me something and then my answer is wrong. It could just take this thing and make it really like, oh, like a dudder where there's a flow. I feel as the older journalist and talking to a young guy like you with fresh ideas, there's a flow when the two can connect like we have connected here today, right from the get-go. Um, as you've gone on with Michigan State, the university and everything, and of course your major is going to be in sports journalism.
Yeah.
And you have a minor in anything, or is it just sports journalism right now?
Well, the minor is technically sports journalism.
Got it. Okay. Okay. Back in my day, of course, was called broadcast journalism, but I think the things have changed. But it was always my emphasis was on the sports. Um, are you told what to cover if we use the word the intern? Are you told what to cover, or do you kind of have the right to pick and choose what you want to do?
A little bit of both. So I'm told to cover the games and like do write a preview for the games too. But if like for like the SIDs will send like me like all like the media people emails that like for example like Michigan State's basketball assistant coach is like getting he's on a watch list for like the top 100 assistant coaches in college basketball. So I got that email and I told one of my coworkers, it was like for one of my stories, like I got this email for the week, like I could write a story on this, and he said yeah, go right ahead. So it's a little bit of both, but a lot of times I like t tell them, hey, this like so a recruit just committed here. Like it's a good idea for me to write a story, and most of the time they give me the green light to write a story on that.
I got to ask you something because this happens with me with a guest. I had this conversation with you off camera a couple days ago. Like I says, I know your parents very well. They were in my office about a week ago, and I says, I want to talk to your son. And they kind of looked at me and they go, well, why? I go, because I knew you had like the same thing that I went through some 40 odd years ago, that fresh new idea. So sometimes I could be driving my car and I see something. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to interview so and so. I'm going to send them an email. I'm going to try. Do you go in with that thing like even a couple days before? I'm going to try this. I'm going to see if they'll let me do this.
Yeah, like each week I on Sunday I send one of my coworkers like a text of like the stories that I can write for the upcoming week. And usually like towards Friday and Saturday before the Sunday that I send the text, I try to think of what could I write, what's a good idea, what's a good story that I could write. So I'm like always thinking of like random things to write about because like news is always happening at all the times and like we need to cover like everything.
I mean, perfectly said by you because well, we are now. Are we at? No, you're an hour ahead of me, right? Yeah, you're an hour ahead of me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's 3:19 in Michigan. You could get off this thing at 3:30, 3:35 of me, and something, might have just happened with Michigan State or like what happened here in Chicago yesterday, which was a bombshell. And I'm sure you heard about it, that those three DePaul players were,
Yeah.
indicted for the skimming on those basketball games, which came as a great shock to me because what a great university here in Chicago. There's something in the bio that I love. There's something in the bio that I love. He writes timely post-game stories and in-depth analysis while also creating engaging social media content to the fans. I got to tell you something. That's a lot going on. That's a lot going on. And again, you get that person that says, oh, what did he do? He wrote a paragraph. He kept us happy. What goes into that, Nick? Because I find that amazing. In my day, I would have never been doing both. How
Um,
did, how do how do you kind of do both is what I'm trying to say on the scale.
So for football, we had like a live tailgate radio show like an hour and a half before the games. So I would do that and I would like take videos of like what's happening and take pictures of what's happening with like within the guests of the radio post and I would try to like clip that up to post it before the game would start and then I would write the article right after. But I feel like in social media right now in sports, like it could be like a really good tool of interactive because like a lot of fans they want to see the behind the scenes of stuff and social media is like a great way to capture the behind the scenes of the players.
Yeah, no, perfectly said because, you know, sometimes I'll tell people, hey, do you know this broadcaster on the 10 o'clock news? And I'm going to go to your age level of people, the college student, the millennial, and they'll look at me and they'll go, yeah, Mr. Conenna. Why are we going to watch the 10 o'clock news when that has already happened at 11 o'clock this morning? This is not the 1980s of the original ESPN. We're going to wait till 10 o'clock and there's going to be this busting story that Kyle Tucker signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers today. Okay. So he goes, we already knew about that at 9 o'clock this morning when we woke up. You have also contributed to the Spartan Sports report too. I noticed too.
Yeah.
And again, this is all, and you've helped produce weekly shows on Michigan State athletics, of course, with the scripts and everything else. Again, there's a lot going on here, and of course, you're still going to school and you're
Yeah.
doing all this. So, what do you think a day entails for this senior Nick Fardella, an aspiring journalist? How many hours in a day does this entail when you got it all going on with the football team or the basketball team or whatever sports it covers, and you still got to burn the midnight oil for that test that might be coming up the next day in your class? What is a normal day for a Nick Fardella?
Um, so I'll give like an example for a basketball home game. So like say let's say the game's at 7, like I wake up, I try to like go to the gym because I feel like that's like a good way to like keep my mind like fresh and like healthy and just keep my mind relaxed and body relaxed. So I go to the gym in the morning, then I go to class, and then I try to do like some sort of like last minute prepare like what's happening within the game and all that. And then like I'll write it like a random story too about something like like a football recruit committed here or something like that. And then I'll eat and then I'll go to the game. So it's a little bit like stressful managing both, but I like found a way to make it work, and like I'm always like going 24/7 on something.
Which is good. I mean, and Nick, it entails a lot of dedication, a lot of notes, and it entails a lot of sacrifice, correct? I mean,
Yeah.
you're giving up something probably you like to do this, but in the long run, it truly is a big thing for you. I mean, you got to really manage your time here. Yes. Moving a little bit forward, um, if you had to cover a sport, because I see a great future with you here, young man, what is one of your or two of your favorite sports? Maybe after this is all said and done and you get the degree and you get noticed, is there a sport or is there a city you'd like to do or come back to, we hope? What's on the agenda? You feel good, the feel for television? Do you feel the feel for radio?
Um, so for the sport wise, I want to do either baseball or college athletics, and then I want to work for like an athletic publication, like an online publication like that, and cover either baseball or college athletics for them. And then my goal is to travel to every single, like let's say I cover college football for like the Big Ten. I would want to travel to um like the biggest game in the Big Ten every week. So my goal for my future career is definitely is to travel. And like for a city, it's either New York City or Chicago. I want to live in a big city like that with a passion like sports background.
Yeah, and no better city than Chicago, especially with all the sports we have going on, from football, baseball, basketball, hockey, women's basketball, and of course, even the soccer here has kind of been revived in our city. And of course, women's basketball with the WNBA and the Sky and everything else. So, you know what I find interesting, Nick, and I really do feel it's for the guy your age, the gentleman that's coming out of college. I notice when we talk about the sport of baseball, tell me if I'm wrong, but you really got to know what's going on in the minor league system of the Chicago White Sox or the Chicago Cubs, because the last few years I've kind of lost track of the White Sox, of course, due to the dismal record. But I've had to go to my son or other sources and say, where did they get that guy? And where's he from? What did they do? Is he playing Class A? Is he playing Double A? Where'd they get this guy from? Was he working at Walmart? I mean, I don't know. So do you really feel, especially a sport like that, it almost reverts back to you really need to know a team system when you're becoming the sports journalist?
Yeah, because like in baseball, so many like roster moves are happening each day, and some random guy from AAA gets called up, and like if you have no idea who that is, then like you're kind of screwed for that. You need to know like who the top prospects are, who's in AAA, and who could potentially get called up at like any moment. And like I'm a big White Sox fan, so like when I watch the games, I think they do a great job. Like randomly in the broadcast, they'll give like a top prospect update and how they did that week. I think that's like a great opportunity for fans to just like get to know like who's up and coming in like the farm system and see how they're doing. I think that's a great tool that they do every broadcast.
Yeah, and I know I don't know the main. I know Stone is the analyst there, Steve Stone. I forget the gentleman that replaced
Right.
who's the main announcer there. Stone is the analyst. I don't remember
It
myself.
used to be Jason Benetti. Now it's some guy, John something. I
Yeah,
forgot his.
and speaking of Benetti, we can bring it up here in the pod. I guess he's probably now going to be the weekly game of the week announcer coming up. I read in the Athletic, maybe whenever it is, like the Saturday or Sunday game.
Yeah, for the NBC, just got like the broadcast rights for
Yeah,
baseball.
yeah.
He's
And you talk about somebody, of course, who has cystic fibrosis. I think it is his disease. Uh, the dream became a reality for him. But that was a gentleman. When I would listen to a White Sox game, he knew his stuff, and and of course had a great personality. All right, I'm going to run five things at you. This is very entertaining here today, and I just love your passion for dabbling in everything you've done. Of course, with Michigan State, the football, the basketball, the Spartans, what you do on and after. Just this is truly tremendous. You are well diversified. I just want to tell our audience before I go into my five-question thing. We are visiting today with Nick Fardella, who is a senior at Michigan State University and is going to be an up-and-coming journalist studying journalism with a minor in sports journalism. And looks like the goal here is to graduate in May. I don't want to hear that you graduated next May. You're going to graduate this May, because then I think Augustino and Rosa will have a problem with you. But anyway, no. Okay. I'm going to ask you the first question, one or two answers, a paragraph, a sentence, however you want to feel. Who's those early mentors that, because we want to get to know Nick Fardella here a little bit better. Who's those early mentors that, you said, wow, God, I can do this. I want to be like them. And I hope I can be like this in the future. If it's a man or woman, mom, dad, who are those early mentors that you still think about and said, wow, they put me on the right path for this?
My freshman year in college, my one of my mom's friends, she like or he does graphics for Chicago Sports Network. His name's
Yeah.
Anthony Oregon. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. So
Mhm.
my mom's gave me his contact and like we called and we chatted and he's like helped me a lot. He like will constantly on LinkedIn send me like random like job updates on like random places in like Chicago. And I got to tour Chicago Sports Network like studio last year, which was really cool. And he was there. He's like really like trying to like help me find my first job out of college and trying to set me up for my career. And then one of my professors, her name's L.A. Dickerson in the at Michigan State. She's like kind of like the mom in sports journalism, like students. She's always looking out for students. She's always like asking how we're doing, and she's always like getting us like internships. Like I'll be honest, for my internship, she put in a good word with like my boss, and that's pretty much how I got it. So she's like helped me a lot too.
Great. And thank you for bringing up those people. I mean, and it shows your determination through those people. That's fantastic of you. All right. What's the Nick Fardella movie? I'm going to give you two movies that you could watch 200 times and not get bored.
Um, When the Game Stands Tall, I watched that before and I watched it again over break. It's a movie about a high school football team and they won the record. It's just like about like that like The team's all about individuals in the team of not executing the play perfection, but just executing the play and how it's supposed to run up, and hopefully you give like the effort that they want. I think that movie's great. It just like gives like a that like not no one's bigger than the team pretty much. And like when you're watching Indiana, it kind of reminds me of that. Like the team, no one's bigger than the team, and that's why they're winning so much. And I like comedy movies, and so I'll probably say Grown Ups. That movie's just hilarious to me.
And I've watched it with my son and my 12. It really is, but that first one is it fits you well, and it fits any sports enthusiast very well. All right, what's the song that you need that gets Nick Fardella going when he needs to pick me up? What is that song that, you're in the car or you're just sitting in the room there in the apartment, wherever you're at, and he says, I need to pick me up today. I'm going to listen to a song. What's that? What's the song for Nick Fardella?
It's either Headlines by Drake or Bottle Go Down by Charlie on a Friday.
So it was Headlines, you said, by Drake.
Yeah.
And I forgot, I know you said the other one here, Headlines by Drake. And the other one
Bottle Go Down by Charlie on a Friday.
is it Bottle?
Yeah. Bottle Go
Bottle.
Down by Charlie on a Friday.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Good. So these are the two that kind of get you going and motivate you for sure, right?
Yeah.
All right. How long have you been a Chicago White Sox fan?
My entire life. My dad was a fan, and that's why I'm a fan. So it's been my entire life. It's
Okay.
been
So I'm going to
some
put you on the
bad years.
spot. I'm going to put you on the spot. We're going to talk about the White Sox, but in your time, in your era, forget about my era or your dad's era. In your era, give me, and I'll give you a couple minutes to do this. Give me your starting nine, top nine Chicago White Sox, and who's your starting pitcher? Game seven of the World Series 2026. Nick Fardella is the coach.
Pitcher, I'm gonna go with Chris Sale.
Okay, the lefty.
Yeah. First base, probably Abreu. He's pretty much been like
In his
there.
time, he was great.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's pretty much been there my entire life.
Okay.
Third base, one of my favorite White Sox players of all time is Yohan Moncada at third.
Okay.
I'll put him at third. Alexei Ramirez at short.
Steady.
Catcher, let's go Przinsky.
Oh, yeah. But there's always a drop third strike with Brzezinski.
Yeah. Center fielder, we'll go Luis Robert.
Oh,
Left field, um, Adam LaRoche, I'll go with him. Right field, I'll go with. I liked Elo Jimenez a lot. I know he can't really play the field, but for the sake of this exercise, I'm going to put him at right field.
you want the long ball.
Yeah, I like home runs.
All right, give me a DH.
Paul Konerko.
All right, all right, all right. Now you went back to a little bit of my Paul Nurgle, but yeah, hey, I like it. I mean, then game seven, and you're going to be the manager, so that is the good one. All right. On this last note, if you had to do this all over again, and it is a young start, you're just starting out, and I see really a future here with you because there's a dedication here, and of course the college that you're going to is fantastic and everything else. Even though it's a young start, I usually say this to people that have been doing it for 30, 40 years. If you had to make that decision all over again, so basically if you had to do it all over again, is Nick Fardella getting into the journalism field?
100%. This is what I've always wanted to do. Covering sports is just great. I mean, my friends always tell me like I like the coolest job, and like looking back at it, I really love what I do. And like you talked about sacrifices earlier, like this year, like I couldn't go to any tailgates with my friends, and like I look back at it and I don't regret it 100%. I love what I do, so this is what I want to do. I'm really passionate about it, and I can't wait to finally get started in my career moving forward.
That is great. That is great. Nick, I'm going to say something about you and then I'm going to let you go. This has been really a fantastic thing. I hope that we can do another one maybe next year or somewhere down the road when you tell me, hey, John, you're not going to believe, I'm going to be doing some reporting for the Bears, or John, you're not going to believe this. My dream has come true. I'm going to be at 35th and Shields covering the Chicago White Sox. I have to tell you, young man, what a passion. And I knew right away after I talked to your parents, I says, wow, sports journalism. I want to interview this young man. And I'll tell you, it's people like you, they keep this old guy keep doing this, because I got my chance to do this late in life. Take advantage of what you and your parents have accomplished for you with that Michigan State fantastic school. Get it done early, and follow your dream. And I truly, Nick Fardella, want to thank you for coming on a conversation with John Conenna.
I'd like to thank you for all the kind words you just said about me. And I mean, it was my pleasure being on the conversation. I had a really fun time, and I would love to do this again sometime.
We're going to keep in touch, and hopefully the new the White Sox manager will be able to come up with a good team for this upcoming season, and maybe he'll listen to our interview and take this to the level of your thinking. But this has been really a thrill today. We have visited with Nick Fardella from Michigan State, sports journalist for the school, and an up and coming journalist, which I think we're going to be hearing his name here in the future. This will go out on YouTube and Spotify in a couple of days, so you can see this interview with Nick Fardella. Please leave comments in the comment field. And again, I want to thank Nick for a great time today.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.